My name is Sarah. I'm 47 years old, and I died on March 15, 2019, clinically dead for 8 minutes after being shot in a random grocery store shooting. I was a committed atheist who spent years mocking Christianity and believers. But in those 8 minutes, everything I believed was shattered. Jesus met me in death, and I came back transformed. This is my story. I wasn't just a casual atheist. I was the kind who wrote blog posts debunking Christianity, who rolled my eyes at coworkers who mentioned church, who felt genuinely superior to people who believed in God. I had a master's degree in biology, and I wore my atheism like a badge of intellectual honor. Religion was for people who couldn't handle reality, I thought. It was a crutch for the weak-minded, a fairy tale for those too afraid to accept that death meant nothingness. And honestly, I was fine with nothingness. When people asked what I thought happened after death, I'd say the lights just go out. No heaven, no hell, no judgment. You simply cease to exist, and that was perfectly acceptable to me. I didn't need the promise of eternity to live a good life. I didn't need threats of hellfire to be a decent person. I was good without God, or so I told myself during those late nights when an inexplicable emptiness crept in. But I always pushed that feeling down, filled the void with career achievements, wine, Netflix binges, and a sharp sense of sarcasm that kept people at a safe distance. My husband was agnostic, which worked for our marriage. But his mother was a devout Christian who prayed for me constantly. I told her more than once that she was wasting her time talking to an imaginary friend. I actually said those words to her face. The hurt in her eyes didn't stop me. I thought I was helping her see reason, freeing her from delusion. Looking back now, I was the delusional one. March 15, 2019 started like any other Friday. I made coffee, answered emails, and planned out my weekend errands. There was no premonition, no sense that this would be my last day as an atheist. I had no idea that in a few hours, everything I believed about reality would be torn apart. I left work at 3:30 and drove to the grocery store. I needed ingredients for dinner. Such a mundane reason to be in the place where I would die. I was in the produce section, examining avocados and thinking about a work deadline when I heard the first shot. It sounded like a car backfiring. Confusion rippled through the store for a split second before a woman's shriek cut through the air. Then I understood. Someone was shooting. My first thought, ironically, was, "Oh God," a prayer to someone I didn't believe in. Chaos erupted. People ran, shopping carts crashed, and primal fear filled the air. My body froze. My legs felt like concrete. I couldn't move. Then I saw him, a young man with dead eyes and a rifle. Our eyes met for a brief, terrible moment. I saw his finger on the trigger. Time slowed down in that impossible way it does before disaster. I knew what was coming. The sound of gunfire exploded through the store. Then I felt it. The impact hit my chest like a sledgehammer. Immediate burning heat spread through my torso. My knees buckled and the ground rushed up to meet me. My cheek hit the freezing linoleum floor. There was a metallic taste in my mouth. Blood. I felt wet warmth spreading beneath me, pooling around my body. My own blood. The pain was overwhelming at first, then it started fading. Sounds became distant and muffled. The screaming seemed to come from far away. My vision tunneled, narrowing to a pinpoint. I felt cold, so cold, and completely alone. My last coherent thought was, "This is it. I'm dying. There's nothing after this, right?" Then darkness closed in, and I felt nothing at all. But nothing wasn't what I found. There was a sudden shift. The pain vanished completely, replaced by a bizarre weightlessness I'd never experienced. I felt confused. Was I unconscious? Was I dreaming? Then I realized I had a new perspective. I was looking down from above, but from where? I didn't have a body anymore, or at least not the one I'd always known. That's when I saw it. My body on the floor, blood pooling around my chest, my hand twisted at an odd angle, my eyes open but completely empty. I was looking at myself from outside myself. The shock should have been overwhelming, but instead I felt strangely calm. I tried to reach down toward my body, some instinct to reconnect, but my hand passed right through. I wasn't a ghost exactly. I was more like pure consciousness, pure awareness without flesh to contain it. Below me, the scene continued in chaos. Paramedics rushed in. A young woman in uniform dropped to her knees beside my body, pressing her hands against my chest. I could see her lips moving. "Stay with me," she was saying. Her partner tore open my shirt and attached equipment. I watched the monitor flatline, that steady tone of death. Their faces showed professional concern, masking fear. I was dying right in front of them, and there was nothing they could do. I should have cared more. I should have been terrified, but I felt oddly detached from it all. I could see everything simultaneously, a 360-degree awareness that defied normal human perception. I saw the other victims. 3 other people had been shot. One was already dead, a teenage boy face down near the dairy section. 2 others were being worked on by more paramedics. I saw the shooter himself, subdued by security, face down on the floor with his hands zip-tied behind his back. Time felt different. Seconds stretched like hours, or maybe they compressed. I couldn't tell anymore. Spatial relationships didn't make sense. Then I felt something new, a gentle pulling sensation, like a magnetic force drawing me somewhere. The direction was upward or maybe inward. Direction didn't have the same meaning anymore. I briefly tried to resist, tried to stay and watch what would happen to my body, but I realized there was nothing I could do. I was already gone. The pulling grew stronger, and I began to accelerate. The grocery store shrank below me. Then I entered what I can only describe as a tunnel. I know how cliché that sounds. Everyone's heard about the tunnel and the light in near-death experiences. I used to dismiss those stories as oxygen deprivation, the brain's last firings creating hallucinations. But this was different. This was too real, too vivid, too coherent to be random neurons misfiring. The tunnel was dark, but I wasn't afraid. I should have been terrified. But instead, an overwhelming peace settled over me. There was light ahead, distant but growing closer. I moved toward it, or it moved toward me. My atheist mind was scrambling for explanations. Brain shutting down. Hallucination. Chemical reactions in a dying brain. But even as I thought these things, I knew they weren't true. This was too organized, too purposeful, too real. The warmth increased as I drew closer to the light. Not physical warmth, but something deeper. Emotional warmth, perhaps. A sense of being welcomed, being expected. And that's when certainty hit me like a wave. Something was on the other side of this darkness. Someone was waiting. My final thought as an atheist was, please let this be nothing, because if it's something, then I've been wrong about everything. But it was something, and I had been wrong about everything. The darkness gave way to light, unlike anything I'd ever seen. It wasn't like sunlight or electricity. This light was alive somehow, conscious. The colors were impossible, hues that don't exist on Earth. I don't have words adequate to describe it. The warmth surrounded me, but it wasn't temperature. It was emotional warmth that penetrated everything I was. And there was no pain. Not just the absence of the bullet wound, but no existential pain either. No anxiety, no fear, no emptiness. If peace was a location, this was it. The beauty overwhelmed me and brought tears, though I'm not sure how I could cry without eyes. I became aware of other presences nearby, but my attention focused on one approaching. He came forward, though not by walking. He simply became more present. And I knew immediately who he was. I knew instantly, despite having spent my entire adult life denying his existence, it was Jesus. Don't ask me how I knew. There was no introduction, no announcement. I just knew in the deepest part of my being. His appearance wasn't like the paintings I'd mocked in museums. He wasn't the pale European figure with the carefully groomed beard. His features seemed somehow universal, and he radiated light from within. His eyes were ancient and young at the same time, and infinite love poured from them. Love I'd never experienced, never even imagined possible. My atheism crashed down around me in that moment. "But you're not real," I wanted to shout. "I don't believe in you." His smile was both sad and joyful, as if he'd heard this exact protest countless times before. He didn't speak, not with words, but I understood him. Communication happened heart to heart, deeper than language. Every defense I'd built over decades dissolved. Years of intellectual armor, of carefully constructed arguments, of scientific reasoning, all of it became meaningless in his presence. The love was the thing I couldn't escape. It was unconditional, unearned, and completely overwhelming. I felt seen, completely seen. Every flaw, every sin, every ugly thought I'd ever had. He saw all of it, and he loved me anyway. "Why am I here?" I asked without words. "I denied you my whole life." His response came as a feeling, a knowing. "I never denied you." Then memories flooded my mind. Moments I'd felt a mysterious pull toward goodness that I'd dismissed as evolutionary biology. Sunsets that moved me to tears for no logical reason. Unexpected joy that seemed to come from nowhere. He was there in all of it. I saw the people he'd sent into my life. My mother-in-law praying faithfully for years. A Christian co-worker who showed me kindness even when I mocked her faith. A stranger who helped me change a tire and refused payment, saying God told him to help. I thought I was alone in my atheism, rejecting God on my own terms. But the truth was I'd been pursued by love my entire life. I just kept running. But I mocked you. I protested. I blasphemed. I called believers idiots and said terrible things about you. He showed me my pride then, gently but clearly. He showed me how my fear disguised itself as intellectualism. And then he exposed the wound I'd been hiding from for decades. My father abandoned our family when I was 8 years old. He just left one day and never came back. I remembered being a little girl, crying myself to sleep, asking why Daddy didn't love us anymore. And somewhere in that pain, I made a decision. If God was real and good, he would have stopped my father from leaving. He would have protected me from that pain. Since he didn't, either he wasn't real or he didn't care. I decided it was easier to believe he wasn't real than to believe he didn't care about a little girl's broken heart. So I built my atheism on that foundation of childhood pain. I convinced myself it was intellectual superiority, but it was really just a wounded 8-year-old protecting herself from further disappointment. Jesus wept. I felt his tears for my pain, for the child who felt abandoned. Then he spoke clearly to my heart. I was in your mother working 3 jobs to keep you fed. I was in the teacher who stayed late to help you with homework. I was in every act of love you ever received. I never left you. Your father left. I stayed. Something broke open inside me then. The hardness I'd carried for nearly 40 years cracked and shattered. Then the life review began. Time shifted again in that strange way where past, present, and future All seemed accessible at once. I saw my entire life, but not through my own eyes. I saw it through his. I saw myself as a newborn, and I felt his delight. I was loved from my first breath. Heaven celebrated when I was born. I saw myself as a child, and through his eyes I was precious, delightful, worthy of protection and joy. Then I saw the divorce, my father's choice to leave. It wasn't God's will. He grieved with me. He was there in my pain, even when I couldn't feel him. I saw my teenage years. The shoplifting, the drinking, the casual cruelty to other kids at school. He was there for all of it, grieving over my choices but never abandoning me. I watched myself in college, where my atheism became intellectual and aggressive. I saw the moment I decided to make unbelief my identity, my badge of honor. I watched myself become exactly what I claimed to hate: judgmental, arrogant, closed-minded. My career success came next. Every achievement, every promotion, every accolade was earned through talent he gave me. Talent I never acknowledged or thanked him for. I saw my marriage, a genuinely good relationship with a good man, but I'd kept God locked out of it. Then came the moments I'd missed. Opportunities to seek him that I deliberately avoided. Invitations to church I rejected with contempt. Conversations I shut down. Doors I slammed in his face. But the hardest part was seeing how I'd hurt others. My coworker Mary kept a small Bible on her desk. I'd mocked her relentlessly for it, made jokes about her invisible friend, rolled my eyes when she mentioned prayer. Jesus showed me her story then. Childhood abuse, trauma that nearly destroyed her. Her faith wasn't weakness. It was her lifeline, the only thing that kept her alive. And I'd ridiculed it. I saw her crying in her car after I made a particularly cruel joke about people who believe in fairy tales. The pain I caused her was visible, tangible. I watched Jesus' love for her, fierce and protective, and I felt his grief over my words. I'd been the bully, not the enlightened one. The shame was crushing. Then I saw my mother-in-law. 5 years of faithful prayer, getting up at 5 a.m. to intercede for my salvation. I'd called her superstitious, old-fashioned, brainwashed. I'd dismissed her as someone who couldn't think for herself. But the truth was she was a warrior, fighting for my soul when I refused to fight for it myself. I even saw my husband's secret faith. He believed but hid it to keep peace in our marriage. I watched him pray over me while I slept, asking God to reveal himself to me somehow. The weight of it all became almost unbearable. Not because Jesus was condemning me. He never spoke a word of shame or judgment. But the truth itself was heavy. All those wasted years. All that time spent building arguments against the God who loved me. My blog posts, my social media presence, my conversations where I convinced others to reject him. How many people did I lead away from this love? What if they die without knowing him because of me? Grief overwhelmed me. I was sobbing without tears, experiencing anguish without a body to contain it. And Jesus held me, not metaphorically. I felt his embrace, his arms around me, absolute safety in the midst of my breakdown. He whispered to my heart, "This is why I came to earth. This is why I died. It's over." He shook his head, and I felt him smile. "You can stay here with me, or you can return." The choice paralyzed me. Stay in paradise, in perfect peace, in his presence forever, or return to the broken world, to a broken body, to pain and struggle. The temptation to stay was overwhelming. Why would I go back? But even as I asked the question, I knew the answer. "Your story isn't finished," he said. "Tell them. Tell the atheists that I'm real, that I love them, that I'm waiting. I protested immediately. They won't believe me. I barely believe this myself. How can I convince people who think like I used to think? His assurance came like warmth. I will be with you. You'll reach the ones I send to you. Then I thought about my husband, devastated and alone, blaming himself for not being at the store with me. I thought about my mother-in-law, whose prayers would be answered, but she'd never know it. I thought about Mary, who I'd wounded so deeply. I could apologize. I could show her that transformation is real. And I thought about my blog, my platform, my audience of skeptics and seekers. I could be living proof that even the most cynical heart can encounter Christ. But I can't do it as the old Sarah, I told him. I need a new heart. That's the only way it works, he replied. His smile filled me with hope. So I surrendered. Completely. Jesus, I believe. I'm sorry. I'm yours. Change me. It was the first real prayer of my life, and I felt something fundamental shift in my being. The old Sarah was dying there in that moment. A new Sarah was being born. I am making you new, he promised. I will never leave you. I will give you the words to speak. I wanted to memorize his face, to hold on to this moment forever. He gave me one last message. Go now. I'll be with you always, until you return for good. Then the pulling sensation came again, this time pulling me back toward darkness, toward pain, toward life. I didn't want to leave him. You're not leaving me, he said gently. You're taking me with you. I fell backward through the tunnel, through the darkness, gathering speed. Body awareness began returning, the prison of flesh calling me back. Dread mounted as I remembered the pain, the blood, the chaos of the emergency room. But alongside the dread was anticipation. I had a mission now, a purpose, and he promised to be with me. The light of paradise faded, but a glow remained inside me. I held on to his final promise as I plunged toward my broken body. Then suddenly, violently, I slammed back into physical form. Pain exploded through my chest like fire. Every nerve in my body screamed. I gasped desperately for air, choking and burning. Sounds assaulted me from every direction. Monitors beeping frantically, people shouting, chaos everywhere. Blinding fluorescent lights burned my eyes. Where am I? The grocery store was gone. I was in a hospital, an emergency room maybe. Then memory returned in fragments. The shooting, the bullet, dying, Jesus. Oh God, Jesus. I'd met Jesus and he sent me back. Voices shouted around me, she's back. We've got a pulse. Hands touched me everywhere, working urgently. I wanted to tell them what happened. I met Jesus. He's real. He sent me back. But I couldn't speak. There was a tube in my throat. Machines were breathing for me. A doctor's face appeared above me. A middle-aged man with shocked eyes staring at the monitor. You were dead, he said to someone else in the room. 8 minutes. No heartbeat, no brain activity. A nurse was crying. I've never seen anyone come back from that. The doctor kept talking, his voice filled with disbelief. The bullet hit directly in the chest. Should have destroyed the heart, but somehow it passed between the chambers, millimeters from instant death. The odds are 1 in a million, he said, and the blood loss should have killed her even if the bullet didn't. I can't explain this, but I could explain it. His name was Jesus. They put me in a medically induced coma while my body healed. Even unconscious, I had visions. His presence stayed with me, preparing me for what was coming. When I finally woke days later, the breathing tube was removed. My husband's face was the first thing I saw clearly. Tear-stained, exhausted, gripping my hand like he'd never let go. Sarah? Baby, can you hear me? My voice came out raspy and weak, but urgent. I saw him. I saw Jesus. My husband looked confused, concerned. Sarah, you're on morphine. You're confused. But I wasn't confused. I was more clear than I'd ever been in my life. No, I insisted. I died. I met Jesus. He's real. It's all real. My husband started crying harder. You're alive, he said. That's all that matters. But I knew that wasn't all. This was just the beginning. When my mother-in-law walked into the room and saw me awake, she rushed to my bedside. Our eyes met, and somehow she knew. She saw the change in me before I said a word. You were right, I told her. All those years, you were right. She collapsed into sobs, praising God, her prayers finally answered after 5 long years. My husband looked back and forth between us in shock. Sarah, what happened to you? I met love, I said simply, and I'm never the same. Recovery took months. Physical therapy to learn to walk again, the chest wound healing slowly with an ugly scar. But every breath reminded me of the miracle. I was grateful for each one. The hospital chaplain visited, an elderly woman with kind eyes. When I told her I wanted to know everything about Jesus, she smiled. You already know him, she said. Now you just learn about him. My husband reluctantly brought me a Bible. When I opened it, the words jumped off the page. They were alive, personal, meant for me. I read the Gospel of John and wept. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Recognition flooded through me. This was truth. This was him. I couldn't stop reading. Hours vanished as I consumed Scripture desperately, making up for lost time. 6 months after I was released from the hospital, I faced my old life. My blog sat dormant with all my anti-Christian articles still posted, mocking tone preserved. I debated deleting everything, but then I realized my transformation itself was a testimony. So I wrote one final post titled, I was wrong about everything. I confessed publicly. I died an atheist. I met Jesus. I came back a believer. The internet exploded. Comments flooded in. Some were supportive, but most were hostile. Former atheist friends accused me of brain damage, trauma-induced delusion, betrayal of reason. The accusations stung, but they couldn't touch what I'd experienced. I remembered Jesus' words. Blessed are you when people insult you because of me. But some people reached out privately, asking me to tell them more. These were the seekers, the ones God was sending to me. Returning to work was awkward. My office felt foreign, even though nothing had changed except me. When Mary saw me the first day back, she hesitated. I asked her to talk privately. In the break room, I confessed everything, my cruelty, my mockery, and I asked her forgiveness. She was shocked. Sarah, I don't understand. You're different. So I gave her my testimony, the short version of what happened and who I met. She wept. I've been praying for you for 3 years. I know, I told her. I saw your prayers. They matter. They worked. We hugged, former enemies, now sisters in Christ. Word spread quickly through the office. Some people avoided me. Others were curious. My boss asked if I could still do my job. Better, I assured him, because now I know why my job matters. Serving people matters because people matter to God. Finding a church was awkward at first. I didn't know the songs or when to stand. Religious language felt foreign. But hunger drove me forward. I needed community, teaching, growth. Mary invited me to her Bible study. 8 women of various ages welcomed me and listened to my full story with tears and awe. One woman asked if I could talk to her atheist husband. That's when I realized my specific calling. This was my mission. Invitations to share my testimony at churches started coming. I was nervous but obedient. Jesus, give me words, I prayed. And he did. Stories flowed. Illustrations came. Boldness emerged from somewhere beyond myself. But my marriage faced new strain. My husband struggled with the new Sarah. "I married an atheist," he said. "I don't know who you are now." The pain of that cut deep, but I kept loving him and praying for him. My mother-in-law encouraged me. "Keep loving him. Let Jesus win him through you." Months passed. The tension lessened. His curiosity grew. He started asking questions. "What did Jesus look like? What did he say to you?" Then came the breakthrough. "I want to know this Jesus who changed you so completely." 6 months after my death, he surrendered his life to Christ. We were baptized together, starting our marriage on a new foundation. My blog evolved from anti-Christian arguments to testimony and encouragement. Emails flooded in from around the world. Atheists questioning their doubts. Seekers searching for truth. Believers encouraged by the story. "Your story gave me permission to doubt my doubt," one person wrote. "If Jesus could reach you, maybe he can reach me," wrote another. Some people accepted Christ after reading my testimony. The weight of that responsibility was heavy, but Jesus reminded me that he saves them, not me. I just tell the story. Now I'm asking you directly, look inside your own heart right now. What if you're wrong about God? I'm not talking about Pascal's wager or hedging bets. I'm talking about a genuine encounter available to you today. I was you. Skeptical, rational, certain in my unbelief. But people who knew me can't deny the change. What convinced me wasn't arguments or evidence. It was his presence. And that same Jesus who met me is waiting for you. You don't need to die to encounter him. You can meet him today, right now, in this moment. I know what's holding you back. Pride held me back for years. The cost is admitting you were wrong, surrendering control, trusting someone you can't see. But the gain is everything, literally everything. Purpose beyond survival, love beyond measure, hope beyond the grave. 6 years have passed since March 15, 2019. I'm still amazed at the rescue, still grateful for the second chance. My only regret is not finding him sooner, but the peace he promised is still there, even in trials, even in pain. His presence never leaves. He keeps his promises. Life has meaning now. Every day is intentional. Every moment has purpose. And death holds no fear for me because I know what's waiting. I've been there. I died an atheist. I came back a believer. And Jesus truly changed everything. Now it's your turn. Will you let him? You heard my story for a reason. This is your moment. The same Jesus who met me in death is calling you in life. He loves you. He's waiting. Don't make him wait forever.